If you're watching this at the time of release, you may be thinking, look at this guy, 1,000 subs on YouTube and he thinks he's so big he needs to worry about sponsorships. So I've really procrastinated on the script, but we're just going to continue. Put simply, I don't. The only sponsorship deal I've ever been offered is for a crypto game that doesn't have any gameplay that exists as far as I can tell. And the only obsessed fan I have is my mom. This has since changed. I've actually been offered a VR link cable in exchange for a full dedicated review. Truly lucrative stuff. This topic is something I find interesting, and more importantly, I don't have any conflict of interest. It's a lot easier to shill for something when you never promised you wouldn't. This video exists to protect the version of me that I hope exists in the future. The one who is a successful creator, the kind that needs to worry about their ethics. I'm going to stop introing now and get to the meat of the discussion. Let's start with sponsorships. The reason a content creator is paid to advertise a product as compared to just playing an ad before or during a video is that when a creator endorses something, they are doing just that, endorsing it.
I'm so impressed with the instructional videos by Coach Amansky that I've given them my full endorsement.
They're selling the trust the audience is perceived to have with the creator, and that holds a lot of value to me subjectively and objectively financially. So let's set up some ground rules. First things first, let's start with what I will not do. I will not state something in the act of sponsoring something that I know to be untrue or believe to be untrue, even if it's just an opinion I know I don't hold. Many ads for Raid Shadow Legends call it console quality. That statement's subjective and isn't technically falsifiable, but look at it. I don't play games on consoles. I don't particularly like them. We all know what that's intended to mean, and we all know it doesn't apply here. And the creators saying it don't even expect you to think it's the real opinion. At least I think that's what they'd say if you asked them to defend it. I will not advertise a product I don't own or haven't experienced.
I don't even know what it is.
If a service is meant to be advertised by me, it will be used by me. I won't tell you something works when I have no way of knowing that. I won't sell you a mouse I haven't had my hands on. I won't tell you to buy a game I haven't played. This isn't to say I need to buy the product myself to review it. I have nothing against paid reviews as long as they're honest and opinions aren't mandatory. Example time, I'm cool with mention the switches on our keyboard. I'm not okay with make sure you mention how much you love our gacha game. Features are objective, feelings are not. Another will not. This is where it gets costly for future me. I will not advertise a product that won't allow me to share the concerns I have. If a game is a 5 out of 10 in my mind, I need sharing that to be an option to me. I will not ignore the downsides of something simply because I'm paid to do it. Raid Shadow Legends works great as an example of this too. The people advertising this game do not play it, at least in their own time, for fun. If they tell me they do, I don't believe them.
It's lying.
It's a shitty game that allows payment to skip content. If you are paying not to play a game, it's probably not a good game. This isn't to insult or demean creators who take these sponsorships. They have bills to pay and I understand that. Being the idealistic person I'm being now, I want these things on paper before I have any reason to violate my morals. That brings us to the next point. I'm going to get a little specific here, but just follow me. I won't promote anything that I think will bring harm to a plurality of the people I convince. I worded it this way because saying that no one will be harmed by anything I'm willing to shill isn't necessarily true. If you tell 100 people to buy a game and someone becomes addicted to it, they are harmed because of my action technically, but I think that's outside my purview. It's not my job to keep you safe, but I think it's my job not to make you unsafe. As a fast and loose rule, if something's legally classified in the US as something to be taxed as a vice, it's probably a no-go. Gambling, alcohol, things like this are things I'm not morally opposed to, but they're also things I don't want to encourage in others. Especially if they view me as an authority, which no one should do, by the way. But even with me saying that, once a certain size is reached, people will want to be like you. It's just a fact of the matter. I drink, but I would never tell my audience to drink or try to sell them alcohol. Let's go over the things I will do. I will research the thing I'm advertising. Let's go back to the mouse example. If a company I've never heard of sends me a mouse, I will look into the company. If the mouse I've been given works fine and performs well, but 90% of the reviews are negative, I will mention that in my review or sponsorship. If this isn't allowed by the company, I won't take their money. If a company tells me they offer therapy over the internet, I will undertake said therapy, and I certainly won't tell my audience to go to them when they aren't qualified. Man, that example is weirdly specific. In that same vein, if a game sponsors me, I'll play the game. And while I don't think I need to enjoy it to advertise it, I do need to think it's of a good quality. I don't really love most RTS or strategy games, but that doesn't mean I can't try to be objective and see if it's worth playing to someone else. Transitioning off the topic of sponsorships, let's move on to social media, since some set of creators can't seem to not get themselves in tons of trouble in the DMs. For clarification, I'm in a relationship right now and I don't plan on that changing. But that doesn't mean I can predict the future. Regardless, the rules I will always play under are these. I will not use any position I have or am yet to have as a content creator to try to establish romantic relationships with anyone, ever. I'm not interested in showing up on Keemstar's show when he's like 65, so I'll be keeping my romantic life completely off the internet. Speaking of jokes, let's move on to something that might be a bit more controversial. I'm generally a pretty pro freedom of expression guy, and that can have some weird lines in this environment. To put it simply, I value the ability to offend more than I value the ability to not be offended. This isn't to say I don't draw any lines, especially in my personal relationships. Generally, I think anything's okay to joke about depending on the skill of the person making the joke and the audience receiving the joke. I understand that some would argue that this can be harmful, and while I don't strictly disagree, I believe most of the harm to be self-inflicted, especially specifically in a situation like Discord where leaving is always an option and tools like muting and blocking are free and always available. My own sense of humor is de-edgified as I've entered my adult life, but that isn't to say I keep it PG-13 or don't think offensive things are funny. The Discord in my description doesn't belong to me, but it's sort of a de facto place for people who follow me to hang out, and that carries with it the responsibility to not be a dickhead. We have a politics chat channel, and the reason for that is to keep the politics there. I understand that things like that are interesting and important to people, and I feel the same way, but this is a YouTube channel about video games, and it's not what I want to be focusing on. If something in that Discord hurts your feelings or even traumatizes you, I do not feel ethically responsible for how that affects you. However, I do want it to be a friendly environment, so know the difference between bullying and banter. TLDR, don't break TOS, don't be an asshole, don't cry to me, don't spam, don't commit crimes. Rules are posted on the Discord, but here's the important stuff. Don't be a kid. Anyone found to be lying about their age will be permabanned. It's not a place to find sexual partners, but certain jokes are fine in the company of adults, and I don't want those lines crossed with kids. Don't break the terms of service. We like the server, and we like to keep it. You can find the rest of the rules there, but that's basically the long and short of it. I don't know that this covers everything, but I'll add to the pinned comment if necessary. Thank you for your time, and as always, buy my shitcoin and download Raid Shadow Legends.